And welcome back to the IWAR Network Tubecast. I'm your host, NWL and IWL Commissioner Alex G. And with me, as always, IWAR Commissioner Matt Riley. How are you doing tonight, Matt?
I'm fantastic.
Yes, Bobby Fulton and Tommy Rogers. Fantastic, I bet. All right, this episode will be your winter cycle in review. And we're going to start off with the BRL. League champion, Nightmare Sam Hell. TV champion, Vicious, Vincent Payne. Atlantic, Chris Endgame. Central, Duke Nukem. Dixie, Silver Sprinkles. Eastern, Eric Endgame. Mountain, El Dragon de Oro. Northern, the Russian Rocket, Alexei Smirnov. Pacific, Lord of Illusions. Prairie, Liam Larkham. Southern, Product of Arrogance, number 1. Western, Sinister, Steve Stryker. Tag Team, Lord of Illusions and Nightmare Sam Hell. TV Tag Team, Dark Phoenix FS and the legendary Frank Leatherman Snow. Six-man, Sharpshooter, Jake Scarlett, El Dragon de Oro, and the Russian Rocket, Alexei Smirnov. TV six-man, Sam Whiskey, Bruiser, Brett Brown, and Jury. So, Matt, what's going down in the BRL?
Well, there's a lot, actually, as usual, but thanks to Mark K. Fabe for his fantastic promo recaps in the latest issue. So,
Nice.
the new thing segment debuting. There's a lot going on in the BRL, and one of the fun things about the BRL is that if you get in here, there's a lot of people to work off of. So some of the changes that were kind of cool, we're seeing some people, as we like to say, playing off what they're given. Liam Larrikin, I mentioned in one of the things, or in the show, I mentioned, boy, give that guy some attention. You can use him to work off of. He got demolished by like 3 different wrestlers. So, oh, whoops. Or was it an accident? But no, that was a good thing to see. Bobby Bedlam won the Best of 7 series, so he was happy about that. Matt Rodriguez felt slighted apparently by Mike Sebastian calling him Mexican, not Spanish, and he attacked him again. Although this time it was a mystery what really happened. There was no follow-up after that nude attack from last time. So we kind of talked earlier about how the Leatherman played it off like it was all done with CGI. But what do you really say to a thing like that, you know?
They did mention Luther in a promo. I guess they had a fake Luther come out, and apparently he's a woman beater and a wet diaper monster with a nice little picture next to it, which is nice.
Yeah. Other things in the news: Fatty debuted a new physique. So Fatty the Butcher's no longer fat; he's just. But
let's all give a shout out to DDP Yoga for that one.
That's right. Yeah, actually, it was Luther's Russian connections that made that happen.
Yeah.
So just Moonshiner's still bringing the heat. Dragon de Oro talked up his title win, and there was a mysterious stranger cliffhanger thing where Alexei Smirnov and Agent 26 were speaking with Dragon, and then this mysterious Russian guy came in and spoke Russian to Smirnov. So cliffhanger. Jimmy North came back and attacked Blood Money, and retribution for them attacking him way back when. Molson started recruiting to the Canadian Nation. He invited Pete Bartlett, so I don't know where it's going to go or not. But there's just a lot going on. Barbaro's all over the place. El Barbaro's been doing a lot, so good guy to watch and see. Leather Brigade is going a lot of directions. Some matches coming up at the WrestleRama pay-per-view, which will be the matches are this coming cycle.
Oh, boy.
And then the cycle after the write-ups will be in the bulletin or in the IWAR.
We had Ghost Stories with Ghostly Shadows, which is awesome.
Yes. Yeah.
I found that really good. We had some stuff from Odin and the Middle Knights.
Yeah. So Middle Knight, who was gone for a cycle, came back and he brought his friend.
What's a Middle Knight? Like, can it be a left knight and a right knight, and then there's a middle knight?
I would think maybe he's ranking-wise, he's not a squire. He's not like a king. He's kind of in the middle. I don't know. So maybe that's, I don't know.
Okay.
There's also a mystery about Randy the Ram, who retired suddenly, and now it's a whole thing where maybe he's missing. We don't know what's going on.
I thought he was dead.
Yeah. So
Apparently he came off the top with a flying ram jam, and then the screen went blank, and we don't know what happened to him.
yeah.
Bless his heart.
Yep. Good call.
We had Luther Alexander claim that Agent 26 Smells like burnt hair and used diapers.
Well, there's the diaper thing again.
Yeah. And then Luther's response to the nudie attack was saying that this wasn't the first time he was been in a room with a group of naked men.
Yes.
Although he can't say the same for Jane Red, since she's a pig.
Oh, Jane Red.
He'll probably send her some marital aids down the road to help her out with her little situation. So there you go. That is the BRL. Next up, the CWL. Unified, Koenig. Streaming Media, Goliath O'Brien. United States, the Untamed Iron Bull. Yukon, Railroad Warrior Hammer. Caribbean, Killer Clown. Amazon Basin, Nameless Minion of Solace number 4. British Isles, Touchy Feely Fingers Fairlane. Arabian, Norman Spivey. South African, Toxic. Siberian, Victor von Schnapp. East Asian, Bink Blank number 1. Oceanic, Railroad Warrior Spike. Unified Tag Team, Wildcard Garrett Shadowstar. And the Tyrant, David Hammerhead. Streaming Media, we have Sludge and Hammer. Unified, Forgotten Vagrant, Garrett Shadowstar, and David Hammerhead. And Streaming Media 6-man champions, Railroad Warriors, Hammer, Ty, and Spike. So, Matt, what's going down in the CWL?
Well, has this ever happened to you? You feel depressed because your family was murdered, and you can't remember a damn thing about them? Well, then you could commiserate with a Killer Clown. Killer Clown gives a great promo. Just every time I read his promos, I'm always like, oh man, dark place. So yeah, there's a lot going on.
Someone needs to give him a hug.
He needs a hug.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a lot of the arriving talent still kind of establishing themselves. Fingers, Fairlane, Garrett Shadowstar, and Hammerhead are kind of reasserting themselves. They retain the tag titles. Forgotten Vagrant still get some beef with people. I think really there's a lot going on here as far as some feuds, and Big Joe and Power Jack are back in action.
Nice.
As are Rowdy and Rude Duty. Rowdy Russellini and Rude Duty. Goliath O'Brien's got a little bit of a feud with Battle and Brian Kelly. Clark Pierpont going after Solace.
Has Solace TT'd it all yet?
Yes.
Okay, good.
He TT'd, although not this cycle.
Okay.
But, doesn't mean he isn't going to be back. Old Man Spivey's still going strong again. So, again, a lot of younger talents here. El Puma and Le Gilbert, however you say it.
No, Derek sent me the proper pronunciation on that. I'm going to pull it up right now.
Oh boy, here we go.
Okay, so I've been waiting to do this for a while. Le Guépardeur. That's how you say it.
Okay.
Le Guépardeur.
All right.
There you go.
Clark Pierpont dismissed Steve Chambers, who destroyed his office in a vicious sneak attack, by saying he's not going to fight him. So I was like, oh, all right. That feud's not going anywhere. Battle and Brian Kelly has got a really good heated promo. Should we talk about the Four Corners?
I think we're missing a set of 16.
We are.
Yeah. I mean, we can.
Yeah. Well, those of you who remember last year, the CWL held their Four Corners Invitational. And what Andy, the commissioner, did is he asked the commissioners of other leagues to volunteer 16 wrestlers. And the idea is that you want to get as many players into the event as possible. So I was given the choice of picking 16 BRL stars, and I picked from the following people: Jane the Vixen Red, Vicious Vincent Payne, Sir Gunther Kinderwalk, Jimmy North, El Barbero, Gran Sabrosa, Agent 26, 5% Spanish Matt Rodriguez, Canadian Hammer Gunnar Molson, Frank Leatherman Snow, the middle, not left or right, Knight, General Bob Rockbone, Pete Bartlett, the Black Superstar Bobby Bedlam, Liam Larrikin, and Superstar Rick Riley. So those are the 16 for the BRL's entries into the Four Corners Invitational.
And I have the IWL's entries, which are Luther Alexander, Phantom Striker, Mike Mason, Koenig, Great David, Alex Styles, Jesse Tombstone, John Body, Clyde Cosworth, Senior Lucha, Connor Steen, Kennedy Cage, Marcus Monroe, Piper Monroe, T.J. Relic, and Andrew Jefferson Kaufman. And we don't have the CWLs yet. And fuck it, let's do the NWLs right now, live on the air.
Oh my God!
Number 1 will be Winston Smith Jr., Black Belt Jones,
Oh boy.
Strictly Business, Hostile Takeover, Ricky Kyle, Joe Boring, Lockdown, The Patriot, Aaron McFleece, Mr. Shot, Alpha Male XD, Adam Maddox, The Reaper, Lion Mask, Texas Edge, and the Dumpling King, Daniel Tran. That is the NWL's 16.
What was that Texas guy called? Texas what?
Edge.
So is he like Edge, but he says y'all a lot?
Yes.
Right.
I envision him as Edge with that cowboy hat.
There you go.
So there you go. And there's plenty of pictures of that online, so we're good to go.
Oh boy.
They used to sing kazoos.
All right. So yeah, see, Four Corners Invitational coming your way soon.
Right. Do we get a prize on that yet or no?
I don't remember what it was last year, but I want to say it was like, mandatory money, free matches, and I believe a shot at the IWAR World Champion.
Oh, excuse me. There you go. Ridiculous. Okay. Fantastic. Up next is the IWL. League Van Death Valen. Television, The Great David. New York City, John Body. Los Angeles, Grand Underwood. Boston, Kennedy Cage. Detroit, Cowboy Jim Spur. Cleveland, Ulysses Monroe. Dallas, Nasty Norman Krasner. Memphis, Primetime Alex Styles. Miami, Triple X Extreme Xavier Jimenez. San Francisco, West Washington Esquire. Chicago, Koenig. Tag Team Koenig and The Great David. TV Tag Team MF Predator. And The Silent Giant SBJ. Six-Man, Marcus the Monster Monroe, Piper the Goofball Monroe, and the General, Ulysses Monroe. TV Six-Man, Shotgun James Carnage, Blackjack Robertson, and Texas Jesse Tombstone. So, Matt, what's going down in the IWL?
There's a lot going on there as Wrestle Riot is rolling in. Another packed, I think you can hear it, bulletin, which if you're one of those guys that likes bulletins with some meat and potatoes to it, you'll like the IWL. Let's see here. We have JJ Dallas and TJ Relic kind of cutting their way through. Andrew Jefferson Kaufman is still claiming he's not Andy Kaufman, but he looks a lot like him. Chaotix are here, so we get those to deal with. It's a lot of trios all of a sudden. Monroe's.
It's become a six-man league, it seems like.
Yeah. Urban R. Schuster is.
That was my favorite TT of the cycle, to be honest.
Yes. Connor Steen has his trash talk, which I heard he's being sued by Kevin Owens, so hopefully he won't get.
That's not true. It's not gimmick infringement.
My favorite horseman, Pretty Paul Omega, is here. I like John Body's Tiger Buck beef jerky.
They'll make you a sexual Tyrannosaurus just like him.
Right. He ain't got time to bleed.
Yeah.
And a sad moment, as Luther Alexander talked about the passing of Uncle Ivan.
Yes.
Yep.
A sad day.
We had a really great promo from Koenig and the Great David.
Mm.
I always think of the day, like, I can see Andy in school. Is there an Andrew Koenig? Koenig, okay? And then he puts him in, like, the pole lock. Make it more ridiculous.
Hey, Aaron, where are you?
Hey, Aaron, yeah. The Empire of Chaos, which is Empire of Chaos, including the Regulators, cut another strong promo.
Very strong.
Boasting their lengthy tag team run and other reigns.
But their short penis.
Yes.
It's all about girth. It's all about girth, not length.
Well, as a commissioner, you know about that. I don't know. Whatever.
I told you.
They call out the Von Schnapps again, demanding they get a six-man shot.
They're not even in this league.
Yeah. So, I think Alec Von Schnapp might have something to say about that. Yeah. There was a big promo with Luther Alexander and his skivvies.
Yes.
Yeah, so good times. Neo Dragon's YouTube channel, something's up with that. Still missing. That plumber was 3 pages, the Luther Skivvies one.
Yeah, it's good.
Atari, the Arabian Dream Ali Atari does step up and let Luther know that while he may have lost his uncle, he still has his new family, Atari and Lady Xanadu.
That's very sweet.
They're there for him. Jim Spur came out with the most ridiculous statement of the month after months and months of feuding with Scotty Flash and Scotty Flash's valet Fire. Jim Spur asserted that he thinks what's really going on here is that Fire is actually in love with him, not Scotty.
Yes.
So we'll see if that goes anywhere. And Senor Lucha with some strong words towards the Empire Chaos, telling them to tone it down, their angry verbiage, because if the fans won't stand for it, neither will he.
That's a good point.
John Body got attacked. Phantom Striker. Someone mysteriously attacked Marcus the Monster Monroe. But it's a packed, action-packed bulletin. 108 cards. So really delivering the action there, folks.
We were doing some big things. In addition, we had the first round of the Young Lions Cup. We had Kennedy Cage, Dr. Victory, Alec Von Schnapp, J.J. Dallas, Graham Underwood, Andrew Jefferson Kaufman, John Body, and Rogue Warrior Falcon all advanced in the Young Lions Cup. And folks, just signed the finals of the Elite 8 tournament. It will be Senor Lucha taking on Crimson Grim at Wrestle Riot. The winner of that match will be the new #1 contender for the IWL Heavyweight Championship. So awesome stuff there. In addition, we had Mike Mason, who drew Rogue Warrior Falcon in their best of 3 series for the Southern Championship World title. Awesome. This rolls off the tongue.
Yes.
Speaking of Road Warrior Falcon, he was the cover boy on this cycle's issue of Post to Post, so that was really cool to see there.
Yes.
New logo by Empire Chaos. Pretty sweet, if I don't say so myself. Again, guys, IWL is action-packed. More stuff to down the road, guys. We have the King of the Ring tournament that will be happening. That's our next pay-per-view, so be on the lookout for that. Essentially, it's going to be 32 of the top wrestlers in the IWL. The first round will be a qualification round or a play-in round. Those 16 men who wins will be placed in a one-night, one-cycle tournament to determine the new King of the Ring. And the winner of that will receive a special prize. Most likely the biggest prize in IWL history.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so be on the lookout for that. So next up is the NWL League Champion Winston Smith Jr., TV Black Belt Jones, Atlantic Drunken Fisherman, Central RJ Rage, Dixie Master of Disaster, Eastern Strict Lee Business, Mountain the Assassin, Northern Hostile Takeover, Pacific Drunken Camper, Prairie B.A. Fox, Southern Johnny Vegas, who is an actor, Western Ricky Kyle, Tag Team Strictly Business, Hostile Takeover, TV Tag Team Master of Disaster, Bombshell Warrior, 6-Man Fortune 500, Aaron McFleece, Strictly Business, and Hostile Takeover, and TV 6-Man, Mark Malice, Hulk Hollywood, and Vic Villain, all who are inactive. What the fuck happened there?
Yeah.
So Matt, what's going down in the NWL?
Well, I will defer to you. You are the commissioner.
Only entitled. So I guess the big news coming out of the NWL, we have the Uncle Ivan Memorial Cup and the wrestlers who will represent. So in big news, we had Joe Boring will face Mark Malice in the finals of the NIT. The winner of that will get a shot at Black Belt Jones. We'll get a shot at Black Belt Jones for the NWL National Championship. Also, we announced our next pay-per-view for the NWL, which will be the Rumble in the Bronx. Now, for those of you who don't remember what the Rumble in the Bronx was, essentially it's a battle royal in a ring that's suspended an additional 15 feet off the ground. And ringside is covered with broken glass, nails, thumbtacks, and live scorpions. The winner of that match will receive a prize and a future NWL National Championship match. So we had one last year, and it was a great success. And there will be a $1 fee for entering this event. And I guarantee you, folks, this will have the largest prize in the history of the NWL. Just giving shit away, left and right. Ridiculous. Okay, so we had, once again, Luther Alexander is just giving some props and shout-outs to his Uncle Ivan, who recently passed away. And he did name an executive assistant. His name is Art Deco, and he'll be in charge while Luther is training for his IWL Heavyweight Championship match coming up at Wrestle Riot. We had more great promos from Winston Smith Jr., the non-conformist champion, by the way. Right now he's involved in a feud with Ricky Kyle and Texas Edge. They both want to take the belt from him, so we'll see how that goes. You know, he's also beefing with just about everyone else in the league. It would be Jerome Smitty, Aaron McFleece, Strictly Business, and Hostile Takeover. Winston Smith Jr. does not have a lot of friends at the moment. I don't think he needs them. Drunken Camper and Drunken Fisherman are beefing with the Reaper. They have challenged him into a Death Camp match. Not sure what that is yet, but
Death Camp match. Okay.
We will find out. I think the TT of the cycle is Aaron McFleece challenging everyone to the Fortune Gauntlet. This month he had challenged every single wrestler in the NWL. Each match will be marked as Gauntlet. Anyone that he beats is eliminated. Anyone who survives gets a rematch next month. Survive that and move on to the finals. Anyone who survives, which is doubtful, at least he says so, will receive $100,000 of his iCash. So, good challenge, good way to spark activity, Aaron McFleece. So I'm really happy about that. B.A. Fox says some stuff, but no one cares. We're moving on. We see a debut of Bulldozer Matt Storm. High hopes for Matt Storm. You know, came off really, really well. And Aaron Maddox as well. And again, another great promo by Adam Maddox. I think he's going to be a big player going forward. We have a really cool picture of Ricky Kyle. And then, you know, they're continuing. Ricky Kyle and Winston Smith Jr. are continuing to beef over stuff. And that's going to be sweet. And then Black Belt Jones says, finally, that he's glad he's still the NWO National Champion and he will continue to defend this championship with honor. He recently had his match with Great David and lost by 1 point. So he had a good showing. And he's upset at Jerome Smitty. Jerome Smitty has been acting a fool as of late, torturing guys, destroying belts and what have you. And Black Belt Jones, he will not stand for this foolishness. Will be forced to take him down. Although this cycle has locked the... in terms of sheer amount of TT this cycle, but all the TT this cycle was fantastic. So right now we're quality over quantity.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing I think too is that, you know, we talked about this a couple episodes ago, that we kind of figured with the exodus of so many talented players, you know, it's going to become, you know, a little downtime. But, you know, we were talking like, you know, a little influx of talent. And, you know, what's funny is you never know, you know, looking at the names of the players that just popped in, who's going to be good, who's going to be a dud, who's going to whatever, you know, and you know, we'll see. Yeah. We'll see what happens. But you know, you think, oh, the Oriole, but you know, you don't know what somebody's going to do with that. Stan Morgan.
I mean, I've already had guys reach out already to me, so because I answer 100 emails a day, it seems like. Well, keep on sending them, please.
I still like Joe Boring.
Joe Boring might be the NWL MVP at the moment, so he's my pick for the Four Corners, by the way.
Oh, is he? Nice.
Yeah. It's gonna be him and Luther in the finals. So there you go.
Nice.
I love it. So Matt, what do you got going on IWAR wide?
IWAR wide. Well, besides the Four Corners, which is coming together, we still have the Johnny B Cup, the fourth one. Signups coming along. We have the BRL's full 16. We're into the waiting list now. IWL, we were getting there. NWL, a lot of space available. CWL starting to fill up. So probably like last year where we end up having the overflow going to the NWL bracket because, again, as expected, you have newer players, they're not as keen on joining things. It's fine. So it is $3 per entry for either one, and you're allowed one entry per league. And then if you want to have a waiting list, we have that available. The Murano, from my extensive work on the BRL 500th, I've figured out all 25 winners of this event.
Oh boy.
It's been run 25 times since it first started. So it's kind of like, wow. So this is a 26th Murano Memorial. And the Johnny B Cup is the 4th, and we just had a really good one, so it should be a fun ride. This year, don't forget, we're doing the Bound for Glory series a bit differently. Bound for Glory in the past was a sign-up-and-go event. This year it's going to be, I think, in June or July, whoever the top 8 point leaders are in the tag team tag team singles rankings will be automatically entered in those pools for those events. So a little bit different, but it's a different take on setting the event together. So make it a little less time consuming because it is a really time consuming event. There's a lot of stuff to track. Last year's was enormous, and hell, we had 128 wrestlers one time in the Johnny B Cup. So it's like one of those good and bad things. I mean, it's good now with 4 leagues. I have been contacted by players from outside the IWAR that are in gold that were like, hey, if you have space, could I have this guy join in? At this time, we're keeping it strictly IWAR. If you want to play in the IWAR, play in the IWAR. If you don't want to play in the IWAR, that's cool too. If it changes, I will definitely make note of that. So those 2 events are going on. In other IWAR news, the great David, who recently defeated Sir Gunter Kinderwacht for the IWAR World Championship and ended his year-long reign, he had a rematch. He also had a match against Black Belt Jones. Black Belt Jones lost by 1 point, I believe. It was really close. But David lost by 1 point to Sir Gunter. Now, because of the 3-point champion's advantage, Sir Gunter did not win the title, but he gets a rematch, and the champion's advantage is not in place. So next cycle, going into main event, I just realized this as we're saying this, it is the BRL's turn in the rotation.
Whoa.
It goes BRL, CWL, IWL, NWL, and so on. So because it's the BRL's turn in the rotation, the global champion, who is Punk Rock Mike...
Not for long.
No, it could up in the air. Luther Alexander's really gave it to him. Right now, the great David scheduled to face Sir Gunter without the advantage. Agent 26 because he won the Bound for Glory series and he beat Adam Cash. Not bitter. But also, Punk Rock Mike should be getting a shot.
Jesus Christ.
So it should be a fatal 4-way. Good Lord. So this will be a really big test. Now, mind you, keep this in mind. The great David has a 3-point champion's advantage against Agent 26 and Punk Rock Mike, but not against Sir Gunter. That's going to be some interesting mayhem. The regulators will defend against the Elite Militia Correlation, however they say it now, corporation. EMC guys in the BRL, they are the global tag champions. And the WrestleRama card is loading up. We just had additional match of Fatty the Butcher versus Jimmy North signed in a first blood match. So that's going to be, a lot of bad blood there, so to speak. And, it's going to be a fun time. Pay-per-views always are. So we're looking forward to it. I've already had some write-ups come into me with alternate endings depending on who won. And I always like that. Like, hey, if this result happens, here it is. So if you want to be involved in these write-ups, please let us know. We're happy to have you help out. It does make a big difference if you know the wrestlers involved. I will say years past, we had people say, oh, I want to do the write-ups. And then he sent me like 3 lines. Now, I'm not saying you need to have a novel, not by any means, but like a paragraph is a good start.
Yeah.
And just kind of, capture the flavor of the wrestlers. If you don't know them, it's fine, but just, wait till you're in the league. Other IWAR events, good Lord. The IWAR draft that happened last year for the first time had some results, and those results at halftime, if you will, because we're a 6-cycle contest. I pull it up here. The current leader in earnings overall is Touchy Feely Fingers Fairlane with $205,000 in Imagine Cash earned. Next up is Killer Clown with $180,000, Marcus Monroe $130,000, Blank $146,000. So it's still anybody's game. There's 3 more cycles to go. The most stars earned goes to Dr. Victory with 3 stars. So he starred the first 3 times. That's pretty impressive. There's a whole lot of guys with 2 stars, and I didn't do the wrestling points because that's not really a big play thing yet. But just to give you an idea of where some of the leaders are right now. In last place is Steve the Hitman Chambers. So poor guy, $22,000 earned, and no stars. So there's that. So anyways, that's also going on. And again, we will run the draft again this fall. So that'll be a new thing. We're going to learn from this version of it, tweak it, and then build off of it.
Yes.
Other things going on. Oh boy, the BRL's 500th episode, bulletin, if you will, is coming up in July. And that's going to be a very big event. So we have a lot of things going on. If the timing works right, we will likely have either the quarterfinals or semifinals of both Murano and the Johnny B Cup on that show, as well as an IWAR title match, IWAR tag, like a lot of stuff going on. So, I should also mention, speaking of big matches, Frank's Leatherman Snow is facing Hustafat and Cash in a lumberjack match where Cash gets to pick the lumberjacks. So we'll see how that turns out.
All right, fantastic. So a couple of auxiliary topics that we want to talk about. I guess the first one would be the cost of flooding in the IWA.
Indeed.
So Matt, what's the cost of flooding in the IWA?
Well, I'll back it up. Not quite in a Rachel Maddow way, but flooding.
Jesus Christ.
Well, I have tax documents. The cost of flooding.
No, she didn't.
Well, she had documents. There's nothing good. The way it works is when someone floods, they are essentially outnumbering the competition. So I always use the example, if you were at a bingo hall and you bought 9 cards and sat down and you're like, I got this, I got 3 by 3 by 3, this is going to be great. And the person next to you sat down and took up 4 more tables because they got 90 cards. The odds are obviously in their favor. Now, IWA-wise, there's only so many combinations of holds, so the more wrestlers you have, the better your odds. And so John Body did a kind of an expose. He broke down an estimated cost on one manager running about 280 wrestlers. Some could argue the largest roster in the history of the game. It could be. There was times back in the late 80s, early 90s, and then the 2000s, people ran massive rosters. Which, by the way, I can talk about the size of the game later on, too. But he breaks down the cost if they were doing the match deal. The match deal, of course, is the $12 match deal, which gives you 20 matches and 20 scrub wins. And then if you did battle royals for these guys as well. So the average cost per cycle would be $196. An average 17-cycle year would be $3,332. Then they added a bronze expansion. So he talks about this cost, adds in, like, what if you do this, what if you do that, add in these events, and you do other creations. It's about over $4,000. So between $3,000 and $4,000 for 1 year. So there was a lot of feedback on this. Now, my feeling on it is that, well, in today's game, if you want to play it that way, you're free to do so. I mean, we've had players like Sly Smith. There was some guy named Tony something. I forget his last name now. He ran a lot of guys. But over the years, there have been players kind of in and out that have played with a lot of wrestlers. And obviously the tactic you're doing is to overwhelm the competition, nail the numbers down, because if you play your odds right, you can kind of gear towards certain holds. I'm not a fan of flooding. I've tried it myself. I did it one time as a kind of an experiment. I went into Iron, which is the first federation, and I flooded it with like every single league. I had 3 wrestlers. And over the course of, I think I have 3 or 4 months only, I actually did it for. I won the IWA tag titles the second cycle in there. So it can work, but what happens is you have to decide with your wrestlers if you're going to be a tag team wrestler or a singles wrestler, because your strategies are, you're trying to win majors, so you want to have a perfect point flow. And if you have that perfect point flow for tag team, you won't have it for singles. It's kind of a built-in defense to prevent someone from triple crowning as a champion in all the major titles in 1 month or 1 cycle.
Yes.
In this situation, though, I think with players, if you want to have a legit shot, you're better off flooding one league with no limits and hedge your bets. And if you want to have all singles wrestlers, have all singles wrestlers. Know what your combos are going to be and load up and do it. Now, player in question is never named, and that's fine. We don't have to.
I know who it is.
But I think it doesn't really matter. I mean, to me, if someone's going to flood in their leagues, that's why some leagues have limits, because it gives a fair balance to the guys that don't want to flood and still want to have a chance. Because it's frustrating. Like in the BRL this cycle, we had a lot of 500s, 501s. All right, so a lot of different players did pretty well. But if you're playing in a league where let's say you have, let's say 5 guys, 5 wrestlers, that's 5 strategies, and you're playing someone who has 30, well, obviously they're going to have a better shot at more titles than you will. I don't see the value in flooding because you're spending a lot, but it's ultimately it's a hobby. If you're going to spend thousands on the game or thousands on a motorcycle or I don't know, like I grew up with a friend who used to like to drag race up in New Hampshire, so he was always like trying to get me like go in and like do a drag racing car with him, and I'm like, I don't know, man, and like he like, oh, we'll get some money together. It was expensive, but people spend thousands of dollars on a hobby because they want to spend money. Like if you're collecting video games, you're whatever it may be, acting on the side, or you're driving all these miles and you stand up in New Hampshire, Maine, Vermont to get like $5 for a show, but get the experience. That's a hobby.
Yes.
I feel like do what you want. The other side of the coin is a social stigma where you're like, well, if you give a shit what someone thinks about you, maybe you're going to worry, well, what are they going to think about me if I'm spending $1,000 on a game in a year or whatever it may be?
Do you think there's an issue? You think this person may be getting preferential treatment because of the money he spends?
That's always been a common...
That's never been proven anywhere, though, at any time.
No, and it's one of those things that way people have always, I think, bitter, jealous players have said, like when I won the world title, they were quick to say, well, you got it as a gift. I'm like, let me get this right. The guy who spends like $20 a cycle over the course of the game, who's been in the game, at that time I had been back in the game for 4 years, is really going to get a preference. They'd wait that long to give me a world championship, really? Really? They wouldn't just give me like... Because there's so many guys in the game that rack up world title after world title, like Mark Duchesne just won his 7th world title.
Like at the point where they don't even want belts anymore. They just
right, exactly. Like and that's the thing. It's like, why would that be the way it is? Because if that was the case, wouldn't everybody get a turn if they spend a certain amount of money?
Yeah.
Because that was the theory for a long time. Well, they're only rewarding flooders because they put so much money into the game. And I mentioned in one of my notes that one thing people don't talk about is when you have a lot of wrestlers, especially in those dead leagues, you're more likely to retain. So when I was running my blood money thing, I went in one time in a dead league, we had the tag belts for 5 cycles. We went 2 cycles where no one challenged us because the guys in that league were all going for singles titles. So that's the thing, is like you start building up your free matches. Well, now instead of spending $12, I'm spending $5, and I'm using free matches to supplement or subsidize my matches.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of hidden thing here. Now, I don't know how many titles he's retaining, but when you win majors, you win free matches too. So really, it's kind of a vicious circle. Like you need the wrestlers to win the matches, you need the matches to pay for the wrestlers because you need the wrestlers to play for the matches. So it just goes round and round. I really do feel that if you want to have a large roster, there's plenty of either way to play in. Go to bronze, go to diamond, go to bronze, go to the leagues that the divisions that need help, the federations that need help, and go to town.
Yeah.
We all tell people all the time, like, if you want to play in the NWL and another league, go ahead.
Yep.
If you want to learn how to play the game the way we play it, that's fine. You'll go outside of the NWL, you're going to see a different reality. You're just going to see a very different game.
And if guys want to experiment with larger rosters just to check it out to see how what the deal is, go for it.
Right, and that really is. I think that the thing people have about this whole post is I made a comment about how is this different from stables, rallying the forces to basically outnumber each other. Because in the end, the IWA, when it comes to most leagues, most of the game, earning your report points comes from mostly outnumbering the competition.
Yeah.
Are there players who do it without the numbers? Yep. Look at Mark Duchesne. 7th world title. And people say, well, yeah, he's across that way. He's in every money league, and he consistently crushes. Number 1. Number 2, in the BRL, which is one of the toughest leagues in the game, he's at, like, since he arrived, he has 18, I think it's 18 times he's won the credit prize.
Shit.
He's almost won, I think, $700, or he's over $700 now in IWA credit. So to win in a league like that, that's that tough, and he just won the world title again, this time with Nightmare Sam Hell out of the BRL. It goes to show that you can be tough in the game and not need to have overwhelming numbers. Just be really good at guessing the flow. So I would say, as far as flooding goes and being a social stigma, it's kind of pot calling kettle black. I mean, these guys playing these huge numbers and rosters, and that's the thing. If you don't like dealing with that situation, you can go to leagues that have limits in place to help give you a more even playing field. If that's not what it is, if it's more a case of you're playing for the report, well, the report isn't any restricted. It's like everyone gets to go for the report titles, whether you're in the LWL, which has had world champions come out of it. I think it was, I believe, Happy Ralphie Bloodthirst did it, and I think Hannibal. I might be wrong on the second one, but I know 2 times LWL had a world champion come out of there, or Idaway champion. So the idea is that if you want to really make the report, you can try to flood your way to it. But I would always suggest learn to play the game more effectively before you try doing that. You're just wasting your money otherwise.
Yeah. Because if you pick shitty strats, it doesn't matter if you have 200 of them, and you pick 200 shitty strats, you ain't winning nothing.
Yeah, and I would say this again. I've seen players do this more and more, and I track the strat values in the BRL for part of the commission report. For God's sake, diversify your strats. Mix them up. I see more guys who have shitty cycles, and they have shitty cycles all around because all the wrestlers have the same exact set holds. Mix it up. Throw in a week 42, throw in a week 43. Blend it up there a little bit. Take some risks. You might hit really high.
Yeah, man.
All right, strat rant. So that is my response on that flooding article or flooding issue.
I don't have a response because I don't care.
Yeah, it's just like it's not really a problem in the IWAR, so
it doesn't affect me. So why I don't have an opinion because it doesn't affect me.
Yeah. Before we go our next thing, I just want to talk real quickly. The sneak peek at the the Idaway report came out.
40 and slip.
Yes, I know. It may as well be it. World champion, Nightmare Sam Hell. So Mark Duchesne Nightmare Sam Hell took the Idaway title, the American title, the Metropolitan title, and the Gold Federation title. So I think he's the first guy to do that since Stone Barrington, I think, but I might be wrong. So you had all those guys right there. Then you work your way down and go, okay, that's pretty impressive. Let's look at our Idaway regionals. Well, Atlantic, Chris Endgame. Dixie, Candy Cage out of the IWL. Northern, Russian Rocket Alexei Smirnov. Prairie, BRL, Lord of Illusions. I'm sorry, that's Pacific. Prairie, Liam Larrikin, BRL. Wait, there's more. Southern Champion, Product of Arrogance #1, BRL. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, I can count. 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 regional champions out of the BRL IWL.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that was funny. I doubled a strat with Adam Cash and Fatty, and I had a shitty strat, and I was like, really though, I would have a 490. I would have got skunked anyways. It was just a really, really hard cycle on everybody. Other than that, I think that was it for representation. But still, good work, fellas.
Yeah.
And Becky, thank you very much. That was great to see. We don't really make it a big deal anymore as far as their IWAR magazine, but it is nice to see. We want to see more NWL guys in there, so read the how-tos. Which, by the way, you may have noticed this last issue, we included a article written by Bob Rogers from 2013 about how to trash talk in the IWAR, IWA.
Mm-hmm. So
give it a read. We'll include that more. We're working our way to the completion of the new rookie welcoming packet.
That's how I learned.
Right. There you go. So what's our next topic?
Next topic is Rookie League #2? Brr?
What? Really?
No. There's been discussions bantied about a possibility of a second Rookie League outside of Gold. So Matt, let me ask you before we start. Let me ask you questions.
Sure.
Now there was a second Rookie League at one point, and you're an advocate of keeping the second Rookie League. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
Okay.
It was the AWL, which was an exceptionally strong league. It still is a very good league. Rich ran that at the time, and he wanted to drop the rookie status. And the problem with rookie status, it's once you drop it, you can't get it back. Once you crack that egg, that's it, folks. And the AWL had a really strong roster. King George, Mr. Everything, Kirk Lockerin, something like that. Anyways, a lot of good wrestlers there. And now I'm thinking back to it, like, man, it was a really fun. Because I was getting some of the bulletins from there to check it out, and like I'm talking, he had events every cycle, pay-per-views, a lot of work went into it. Rich put a ton of work into it, and it showed. The players really responded well. So when the NWL first started, it was kind of a similar idea. They both, were like kind of these young leagues, and the guy who was in place just flaked and left and was gone. So through conversations, I kind of said, well, hey, let's make this happen. So we made it happen. Now, the NWL retained their rookie status, and there's been talk at the time when they dropped the rookie status off AWL, well, will that affect the game very much? Well, since that time, we've been the lone source for kind of ramping up rookies. And one time somebody brought it up as kind of a serious endeavor to have another rookie league. And the problem was, for a while, we weren't seeing the numbers to really support two leagues. And it's not that we couldn't, but you need to have enough sustained players to make it work. Like, if we had, let's say, for example, we average probably 3 to 5 wrestlers each cycle that show up new.
Yeah.
Sometimes just 2 or 3, sometimes just 12. It fluctuates. Like last cycle, we had a ton that showed up.
Yep.
This cycle was, I think, 5 are new. And of those numbers, like out of every, let's say, 100 wrestlers that join over the course of like 10 cycles, we keep maybe, well, let's say players. Let's say out of every 10 players, we keep 2.
Yeah.
Maybe 3. It depends. Some players, just stick around. Other ones don't. Some players come in. It happens a lot. Is there 4 players? They arrive. They see how it is. Like, oh yeah, it's a rookie league. They figure I've already played. I don't need to be here, and they jump out. And we had one player who did this, who jumped out, then was like, oh, can I come back in?
Nope.
Well, you kind of already left. So that kind of got left up in the air. But there used to be 2 rookie leagues. So yeah, there could be another rookie league. The big asterisk on why there isn't another rookie league is a very simple formula. Workload. You've got to put in the work. And you can't just go in there for 3 cycles, be like, yeah, it's a rookie league, we're going to show these guys how to play the game, and then vanish in 3 cycles.
Yeah.
You can't do that. And that's why, like you mentioned earlier, is out of the way give people favors for spending more. I will say the other way doesn't give you or I favors, but they know if we come to them and say, hey, we have an idea for X, they're more likely to listen to us and greenlight something because we're proven. Like I'll give you an example. The DXL got a lot of buildup, a lot of rip-roaring excitement. And in 3 cycles, the commissioning team fell apart because they hated each other. Okay. They rebuilt the league, put new commissioners in place, and, it's just, you have to put in the work. And I don't mean work like just for a rookie league, you've got to put on your best. It's like, if you're going to impress a date, you don't wear your shitty sneakers. You wear your nice shoes. All right? You go on those first dates, those first 3 dates, you want to impress her. Then you wear the sweatshirt the 4th date. So
I can talk from experience. Being a commissioner of a rookie league is almost 24 hours, 7 days a week. And I'm not kidding. The amount of emails, private messages that I receive, it's a lot. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's a lot. I love answering those questions, and I do, and I answer all the questions, and I help these guys out, and they ask for feedback, which I give them, and I mentor these guys, and some guys need more mentoring than others, and other people need more feedback than others, and you have to read everything all the time. There's no cycles where you can take a cycle off. Right. And if I choose not to include something in that NWL report or in the bulletin, I'm doing a brand new player a disservice. Right. That's their first. Every cycle is someone's first experience.
And that's the thing I think about too is that, even the littlest sideline comment, note about, a player activity and jumping in something or recognizing their effort goes a long way. But what happens a lot is you have players who come and go, and if they ask questions, like for example, there was some players, believe it or not, that don't have the internet or they don't use it, so they send letters to the IWA to us, and they're good players. And when you have these players who don't have easy access to, you can't just jump on. You got to write a letter back to them, send it to IWA, or email to IWA. They send it to them, and play like an old-fashioned game of postal works.
Yeah.
Now, your point about the workload and the constant emails and stuff is they come to us oftentimes. I want to change my wrestler's name. I want to face this guy. It's like, whoa, we don't handle the matches. We don't handle the name changes. In the BRL this past cycle, there was a wrestler who on the strat sheet had like a ridiculously low strategy, but won one of the regional titles. And people were like, what the hell happened? And I said, ask the IWA. And a few other people wrote to me and said, what happened? I said, ask the IWA. And then someone wrote to me, aren't you going to tell me what happened? I'm like, dude, I don't run the game. I just play the game, write a report. If you have questions that mean matches, strategy issues, payment issues, anything like that goes through the IWA. Now, here's the thing. If you put somebody who doesn't give a shit about players like that and only plays for themselves and wants their name, like there's no like name value. Like, no one's there going like, yeah, I know you. You're from the NWL or IWL. You're that commissioner guy. Yeah, okay, but there's so many players in this game that I guarantee you have no fucking idea who you are. None. They have no idea who I am. None. Even if they listen to this podcast, they're like, who's Matt Riley? Who's Alex? Like, they might stumble onto it. But, you'll figure who we are eventually if you play in our leagues. But we don't play this game to become mini celebrities for, like, a game where people, don't know each other anyways. You just got to realize there's so much work involved. And here's the thing you're probably not expecting to hear us say. Go ahead. Go ahead and talk to them about running a second rookie league. Put it in a league. What you've got to realize is if you want to do this work, you've got to put it in. You can't mail it in. You can't put a shitty report together. You can't put like a one-page report with a few notes and a title and a little pretty picture. Because no one's going to stay for a game like that. They stay because they see the work involved, and the work we put in has a direct correlation in the work that players put in back.
And God forbid you see a shitty report, then you see mine. Like, I'm in the wrong fucking rookie league.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like, I get the idea, have a second rookie league, and I think wrestling on a national scale is on the uptick. It's going to come back strong. So there could be a need for it because you might have more wrestlers joining in. I would rather see I'd love to see a strong second rookie league, pumping out wrestlers. I would suggest at the top of my head, Rich, you're probably listening, but you should be one of the guys that do it, because you did it before and you did an excellent job.
He would be the pick.
Yeah, but I think what happens a lot is the workload. So if you're going to divide the workload up, because what happens sometimes is when you have a diverse, like a divided team, not everyone does their stuff on the same schedule. Like I do my IWA in little snippets. Like I sit down a few hours at a time here and there and do it.
I do an 8-hour block.
Yeah. Like tomorrow's my Friday, I have off, so I'll probably spend, well, I'm getting my yard fixed anyway, which is the pipe problem. I'll probably spend 8 hours just cranking out the rest, finishing the report, and getting it done as much as I can. Because I like to have it done, and and sometimes I've stayed up late and like doing it 3 in the morning, like deadline. So you have to keep that in mind. If you want to be a commissioner, that's fine, but you're a reflection of the game, and it's a reflection on you. How many commissioners have we seen come and gone who talked a big game, put out maybe 1 or 2, 3, maybe 3, maybe even 4 cycles worth of work, and then just either bailed or it went down to like 1 page, or you got the, sorry guys, I can't do this anymore.
Real life got in the way.
Right. Like I always Andy report in the CWL when he was doing the live show version of it, phenomenal. But it took so much work to do, it was eating up too much of his time. Yep. So then he's at school, he's at life, he's at work. So we cut back. He still does a great report.
Better than most.
He just changed the style to fit his availability. And that really makes a big difference. And the players, too, they'll get involved. And here's the thing you might not be expecting to hear. There are players that will help out, with whether it be like, writing up matches or, segments, whatever it may be. If you look at the LWL right now, what they're doing in there is a lot of interactive stuff with the website or the Facebook page, I should say.
Yeah.
So you have people who do reports use the stuff on the Facebook page to help feed the report. I know you were doing that. You had Derek step up as a.
I have a crew. So
Yeah, you have a crew.
It's Derek, Mike Swanson, Jake Joyce, and a couple of other guys every once in a while who step in and help out with various different things. And not only am I, taking some of the workload off my plate, I'm helping the next generation of possible commissioners.
Right, and that's really the big thing too. Is that ideally, my goal isn't to sit there and be like, "Haha, look how much work we do, and you guys can't replace us." The idea has been, for example, Alex, you're a perfect example of it. I wanted someone new to take over the NWL, so when Frank and I walked away, there was someone in place to run it effectively. Boom, perfect. Now you took on the IWL as well, so you have two big leagues with a lot of responsibility, and you're doing them both, a great service. I just think that if someone wants to be involved, they've got to realize how much work it's going to take to do this, and it's not something you take lightly. I think if you wanted to build like an IWAR type format, or even just a rookie league that fed the bronze leagues, that's fine. You've got to have the players, and you got to have, and that's part of it. Yeah, you got to have rookie players, but you have players come in. If they come in and see, let's say, an NWL versus, yet to be named rookie league here, what are they going to think when they see the bulletins? Are they going to see, two very, very active, reports with lots going on, or are they going to see one league loaded with stuff, one league that looks barren? You got to keep that in mind, because we welcome it if people want to try to put that effort together. But
it's going to be the right guys, man.
It's got to be the right people.
Yeah.
And as always, what happens with a lot of things out of WA, people have a lot of big ideas and they want someone else to lift the shovel on.
Well, there's a good possibility that the IWA won't even want to do it.
Well, yeah, I think with them, the thing what they'd have to say is, okay, if so-and-so wants to be the person, do they, nicely,
have the credibility?
What's that?
Do they have the credibility?
Well, credibility is a big one. That's part of it. I said the ability to do it and the reputation. Like, is that a person we can trust? To give them, because essentially, the reason we've been able to run some of the big events we've been able to run, give out some of the prizes we've been able to give out, is because they know we're helping stimulate activity. That's your job as a commissioner: stimulate activity, keep players involved.
Yes, if Venom Scott or Melvin Mayhem or any of those guys made a rookie league, that'd be fucking sweet.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I would go so far as to say this: if you think here's the fun part. If you think you enjoy commissioning a league that's established, it is really fun to run a rookie league, because you get to set the tone. When I had the Teamster there, it was ridiculously fun. How much you were there? You were the Teamster. It was hysterical.
Yep.
We had so many good characters, so many good players. We had a run of really great players, and now those great players are some of the best players in the game. So it's fun, And I think it just, we don't take it lightly.
No.
So you shouldn't either.
It's serious business.
Right. Almost strictly business. Sorry, Andy.
Meh.
That would be our response to that query. So the flooding, the second rookie league. I still say, I'm not a flood fan. I'm not a big roster guy, but that's the miss the mark right there. Is there, if someone ran a league, a stable league, if you will, they could do it. But what would it take? It would take effort and time, and people don't want to chip in.
Yeah.
They want someone else to do the work and reap the rewards. What?